Hello, everyone. In this video, I will explain what are the iframes or what are the frames. So let's jump to the slides. What are if we first define what are iframes? Iframe is an HTML web page or an inline frame which is embedded into another HTML document. So, or we can simply say that a frame is an HTML document which is embedded into another HTML document. Iframe is used to display or add the contents from another source, usually from external source. The data comes from another server, let's say external server that's used to display some advertisement and some other stuff. So the iframe is usually defined with the iframe tag, right? iframe tag. And right now, if you want to identify, as I said, that the iframe is basically another HTML document, right? That's embedded into the main one. How we can identify iframes on a web page? There are two ways. You can right click on a page. Let me actually show you. So this is the website. If you click on this, right? If you click on this, it goes to here, iframe. And if you click on the frame, if you click on a frame, you see that, so this is a frame that it opens, right? So how we can identify if a web page has a frame, iframes, then in that case, you can right click. And if you see that, they say reload the frame, right? So it means that there is a frame. There is a frame on the web page. And in another way, you can, as I already pointed out, I said that the iframe usually defined by the iframe tag, right? So if you want to know the number of the frame on a page, then in that case, what we can do, we can type iframe, right? So there we got a lot of frames. And as I say, that iframe is used to display the content from an external server or external sources, like another external server is used to display like advertisement. You see that there is some advertisement like this one that comes from another sources. All right. So first of all, if there is also, we can write a code in Selenium to determine that how many iframes are in the web page. So let's say that the first thing we want to find that out, right? We want to find out how many iframes that do we have on the page. All right. So let's get started. Okay, I'm actually gonna create another class for the iframes. So I'm gonna copy this part and let's create a class iframes, right? So iframes, I need my main method, and then I'm gonna need this particular part of code. All right, so as I said, the first thing that we wanted to know how many iframes that we have on the page. So let's go to this website, right? Let's go to this website and we are going to the main page. First, we need to click on this, right, to go to the frame. So how we can identify this? Let's identify this. Okay, so let's identify this. Let's see what we have over here. All right, so we got this text. I think we can identify this by using this text, right? So let's actually do that. And what we can do over here, we can say, we can use the contains method, right? We can use contain method, and we're gonna use it's a text method, and then we're gonna close the parentheses and this one. So let's see what's going on over here. We have the oh, my bad. I had the bracket and they're not in the right place, right? So we got the contains. Of course, contains a function. We need that, right? So there you go. So now we actually identify this by using the text. So this is, we use the contains combined with the text function, right? So we identify this, and let's click on this first, because we need to click on this before we go to the to determine the number of the iframes. So what I do over here, I'm gonna call this, let's see what the name, we can say length to frame, right? Length to iframe. All right. And then we can say find element by what? XPath, and we are gonna copy our value. So I'm gonna break actually this into two lines so that you guys can see that, right? All right. So we find the element, and now we're gonna use the weight, because without weight we might run into problem. And I'm gonna use this class expected condition, and I'm gonna wait elements to be clickable. And I'm gonna use length to weight, and I'm gonna click. So the first thing that before we get into the iframe, we need to click on this one, right? So if you click on this one, then we can click on the frames. So that was the first part that we need to do. Let's actually run the script and see that how it goes. All right, so let's see that. All right, open up the website and click on the okay. All right, so I think that this is kind of a little bit because it needs the move to the element. We can use that because this one is kind of like dynamic. So let's try something else. Let's try this with click this by the JavaScript. So if you don't know JavaScript, JavaScript is basically we have an interface in Selenium that we can use JavaScript to, let's see actually what's the error over here. Do we have a element click intercepted? All right, so it's clicking in the wrong direction, wrong spot. All right, so as I said, JavaScript is an interface that we can use in Selenium. So in order to use the JavaScript, through this interface, which is called Java script executor. This is an interface. Through this interface, we can execute execute the JavaScript code inside the Selenium. So what we can do, we can we can say drive. So that's it. But we need to cast it, right? So if you hover over that and it says that cast to website, we have to cast it before we can use it. All right. So once we use it, I'm gonna get rid of this Selenium click, and now I want to click this with the JavaScript, right? What I can do over here, I can say that JavaScript executor, and then I can use the execute execute the script. And then what I can do over here, I can say arguments, then 0. Then I can say dot click, right? Click, and what I want to do, click, then I need a double quote and comma, and then I need to use our web element, right? So this we are going to click with a JavaScript and see that if it's gonna work, because it didn't work with the Selenium click. Of course, there are some method that we could try with the Selenium too, but I just prefer to use JavaScript in this case, JavaScript interface. All right, there you go. So it worked. Click on the JavaScript, and all right. So what we can do else now? We want to what we can do. Then we have to actually find a way to click on the frame, right? So in this case, we can actually, now that we click on it, we can determine the number of the we can find the number of the iframes on the page. So how we can actually Go to the next slide. This is the method that you can actually use to determine how many iframes is in your page, right? So let's actually do that. We want to, let's call this, and then we can say by elements. What we can do over here, we can use the tag name. So as I said, tag name is usually referred to find a collection of the elements. And as I say, that iframe is usually defined with the iframe tag. What we do after this, we want to know the size. We use the size method, right? Now we can type that iframe size, and then we can put this. So then actually I'm gonna use a static way. This is not recommended, just to slow this a little bit down so that we can see. And we use the method signature. Let's actually give this 2 seconds, sorry. And then we are gonna do what? We are gonna close the driver. All right, so let's run it. Okay, and close the, so we got six iframes in this page. All right, so this is how we can determine the number of the iframe existing on a page. So what else we can do? We want to click on this frame, right? So we want to click on this frame. So let's actually find this one as well. So we want to click on this frame, and we can use this ID, right? So let's actually use this ID. We have the tag li. So how we can use this? We can say li ID, and we are going to use this one. All right. So this is not only one, we got a lot of these, right? So we need to figure out which one is. So this is the 2 of 5. So what you can do in that case, you can surround the parentheses with you can surround all the thing with the parentheses, opening parentheses and closing parentheses. Now inside the index or bracket, you can decide which one you want. So let's say I want a number 2. There you go. So I picked up number 2. I copy this, which is this frame, right? This frame, and I'm gonna store that as well. So let's call this all right, sorry, it was a web element, right? Web elements, and I'm gonna call this frames. Driver.find element xpath, right? And then the value of the xpath. Then just to be careful, just to don't do that, let's actually try this also by JavaScript, because I know that this application is a little bit tricky. So let's try this also with the JavaScript. So I'm going to copy that code, and I'm going to paste it over here, and then I'm going to call this what? Frames. All right. So now we're going to click on the frame, right? We click on the frame. What else we can do? Right? So, oops, I keep opening the wrong browser. Let's close that. All right, so after we click on this, this is a frame, right? So this is a frame. Right now, if you want to know the number of the frame, so let's type it. We have 8 frames, right? So we have got 8 frames, and we want to move to this frame. All right, this one, right? So this frame has an ID frame. Let's actually try this one more time. All right, so let's actually try this ID. Copy this. And what we can do here now, we want to identify the frame as well, right? So we can say that, let's actually store that as a web element. So let's find this with the help of the iframe. All right, so what we can do over here, we got the iframes ID equal to, and so there you go. We wrote that by using the XPath, and then we can say go back to here, and now we want to store that, right? We want to store that as an element. First, actually store that as an element, and we call this iframe, or let's actually call this first iframe because it was the first one. And driver dot find element by XPath, and we are gonna paste that value that we find. Okay, so now that we located this iframe, what do you want to do? As I already say that because iframe is a separate HTML page, and if you want to perform some do some activity over it, you have to the Selenium provides a method that you have to switch to that frame to perform some action. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. All right, so how we can move to that, how we can move, we can say that, and the way we can move is driver dot switch to dot what frame. So you see that there is an option that's it's called frame. So then in that case we can pass in, of course there are also some other method that let me actually show you. If you want to switch to there is an overloaded method, right? So you can also use it in the name, or you can use the index. You can use the name or ID. We can simply also use the ID over here, but I just let me actually show you. So if you want to move by the ID, this was the ID, right? If you remember that this was the ID, we can also do that. But here I prefer to just move in by the WebElement. So basically there are three ways that you can move to the iframes. With the element that we are doing right now, this is the element that we find. We can do that through the frame, and also we can switch to the name. But I'm going to comment this out, so we don't need this because we are already using the WebElement. All right, so now we switch to this iframes, right? We switch to the iframe. This is a separate HTML page, and this is the frame. So after we switch, we just want to make sure that the switch is successful to this page. And now we want to perform some action. So let's say that I want to get text. I want to get these text and then print it. So here is we can use the what? We can use the ID, right? We can use the ID, and we can say that H1 ID and these text. All right. So right now we find these texts, and now we want to simply just wants to do what? We want to print that, right? So first, actually, let's store that again. We call it what? Parent text. So we call it parent text, and we're gonna find this by XPath, and I'm gonna copy the value that I just found it. All right. So when I found it, then I can say that display get.text. Then here I say that, okay, I want to switch to that frame, and then inside the frame, I'm gonna get that text, and then I'm gonna use that element that I just found, and I'm gonna use get text. Get text is a method that prints the text of this element, right? Let's try this. All right, so let's run this. Okay, it opens up. All right, so it opens the alerts frames windows, and then frames. It opens the frame, and now it's supposed to print the text. There you go. So it printed the text. Now it seems that we successfully switched to the frame, right? So it means that we successfully switched to this frame, and we got this text. We got this text. So now how we can move back to the main page, right? How we can move back to the main page. Selenium also provides a method to move back to the main page. So how we can do that, we can say driver dot switch to, right? Driver switch to, and here an option we have default content. All right, default content means to the main page. All right, so after we move to the main page, what we want to also do some action, right? We want to do some action to make sure that it's switched successfully to the main page. So what we can do, let's say that after we switch, we want to click on this browser window, right? To just make sure that we are in the default content. So let me actually get that. So how we can get that, we can say this method, it has an ID. This one has an ID. And let me see that, what we can do with this. All right, so let's actually use a text, right? So let's use this text. We see that if you can do that. And we are gonna put these a span, and we are gonna use a text function. All right, and I'm gonna print this. Okay, so we successfully located this element, and I'm gonna copy that. So first, I'm gonna store this, right? What I'm gonna name for, what name can I choose for that? Let's say call it the same name, right? Browser window, something like that. It doesn't matter what name we pick for it. And we are using XPath. Copy that. Okay. So now we successfully located the web element. And now what we want to do, we want to use the wait method. So just to make sure that it works, wait for the element to be clickable. And now I'm going to use a browser, right? This element that we just found. And what I do, I'm going to click on it. All right. I'm going to click on it. Okay. So that's it. What I did over here, I moved back to the default content, and then I, just to make sure that we successfully switch back to the default content, I'm going to click on this element, and this element is this one, right? When you click on it, it's supposed to show this side. All right, so let's actually run this again. Okay, it opens. All right, and let's move to the iframe. Okay, click, so there you go. Just click on the browser window. So now we make sure that it switched back to the default content. So let's see what we have on the slide. As I already said that when you want to perform some action on iframe, because iframe is a separate HTML document, you have to switch that to that iframe, to that document, right? There are three ways that you can actually switch to that document: through the index, through the name or ID, and through the web element. I show you this too, right? So then there is also an example, like let's say this example is about the index. For example, if there is an index 0 or 01, then we have by the names, then we have by the ID, right? You simply use the ID. And to move back to the default page, we can use this method, these two methods, driver that switch to the parent frame or to the default content. So there are two ways that you can move back to the main frame. Yeah, that's it about the frame. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Thank you. Appreciate it.